enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified of all future uploads, and check the description box below the video for important links and information. How you doing, guys? This is Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. This video is about the 9 things that you can still get to help you prepare for the Plutoxin 7 shit the fan scenario. And I'm calling it Plutoxin 7 right now because the current health-related condition, let's just put it that way, that is affecting the world gets instant demonetization if it's mentioned. So I'm going to try to see if I can work around the robot censors. Now, I'm not actually too worried about demonetization per se because any individual video, unless it gets really viral, doesn't really make that much money. But the video will get killed in the search rankings and algorithms. It won't show it to anyone once they get demonetized. So I am trying to avoid that. So in most of my videos, I will call it the Plutoxin 7 virus in honor of Escape from LA, which is a hilariously bad/good movie. But we've seen runs on stores for certain, sometimes bizarre things like toilet paper. Not that toilet paper is bizarre in that you do need it for any scenario, whether it's a disaster or not, but particularly just toilet paper, just bottled water is kind of weird. We've also seen, of course, hand sanitizer and the N95 masks completely sold out. So people may start to be thinking, I think that obviously it's a little late to start preparing, but there are certain things that you can still get that will definitely help you, in my opinion, when this thing continues to get worse in the United States and many other countries as well. The first item, gloves. From what I can tell, gloves are still fairly plentiful at the hardware store, on Amazon, wherever. These are just general nitrile gloves. You can get them at Harbor Freight. You can get them at AutoZone. You can get them at Home Depot. Links to everything I mentioned will be on Amazon as well. That's the easiest place to get them. It's not necessarily the cheapest or the best, but it's certainly the easiest. Gloves like this offer good protection against most things. You can either get slightly heavier duty gloves like this to wear even over them if you had to go out, but a pretty generic thing, especially if you can't get hand sanitizer. Why not carry around 20 pairs of gloves and just swap them out every time you think you may have touched something contaminated? The thing to remember when you're using gloves like these is that the gloves aren't actually killing anything. So if you touch something contaminated and then touch something something uncontaminated with the glove still on, that thing is now contaminated. So if you're wearing a glove, then don't touch your face with the glove either, or it hasn't done anything. The number 2 item that you can still get your hand on in most places is immune support. Things like elderberry syrup. You can get vitamin C. You can get all sorts of supplements and vitamins. They haven't really been wiped out yet. Stuff like that is actually more important for this particular scenario than toilet paper. But for whatever reason, people aren't that smart. They're not actually making decisions based on logic, making decisions based on what everyone else is doing. For whatever reason, toilet paper is the thing that everyone's after. And so you can still get things like supplements like immune support. That stuff's important. I would go ahead and pick some of it up. Like I said, elderberry syrup is shown in studies to have pretty good effects at reducing the symptoms of such conditions, not necessarily preventing it. But if you're going to be, even if you get some other sort of illness and you don't want to go to a hospital where there might be other infected people, you can stay home and treat yourself with immune support stuff like that. So I'll put the link in the description to that as well. Kind of along those same lines, number 3 is you can still get a lot of different types of over-the-counter medicines. You can get acetaminophen, you can get ibuprofen, which both help reduce fever. You can get still things like NyQuil, cough suppressants, and all these other things like that. And I definitely recommend that. That's, again, stuff that should be selling a lot earlier than just plain toilet paper, but it's still out there. It's still at gas stations. It's still on Amazon from what I can tell, depending on when you're watching this video, but I would definitely pick some of that stuff up. Number 4 are specific items related to treating yourself or monitoring yourself for disease, like just simple thermometers. I have noticed the price on those go up on Amazon, but they're still available, especially if you see them hiding away somewhere like a crappy Rite Aid or Walgreens type store. And gas stations might have something like that, or the pulse oximeter like JJ Johnson of Reality Survival mentioned on our last live stream. Put the link to the description to that as well. That's a good thing for monitoring your blood oxygen level, so you can actually tell if it's time to go to the hospital. Because like I just mentioned, hospitals, if you're in an area that's going to have a lot of cases, could be a bad place to go unless you really know for sure you're either in deep trouble with something else or you for sure have, this condition, because the last thing you want to do is go there because you just are feeling crappy in general, and then end up getting this thing from other people who are in the waiting room or in the hospital rooms. So this thing will allow you pretty cheaply, I think they're like 25 bucks, to monitor your blood oxygen levels, and then once you get beneath a certain point, you know, okay, I'm in enough danger that it's worth the risk to go to the hospital. Now, the next item, this is something that may still be available. Like Che, also from our Prepper Trifecta video from Prepper Logic channel, mentioned he thinks this is the next thing to completely disappear. We're already seeing it start to disappear. That is isopropyl alcohol, and then also aloe vera, which you can use to make your own hand sanitizer. Because regular hand sanitizer, which I have plenty of, because I am a prepper, is totally sold out. You can make your own with just rubbing alcohol and aloe vera. I would go with the 90% rubbing alcohol if you can find it, because you want your final mixture to be well into the 60% or higher alcohol. So if you take 70% and mix it half and half with aloe vera, you're not going to be at a total 60% isopropyl alcohol mixture. And of course, you can just use pure isopropyl, or not pure, but you can just use the direct isopropyl to disinfect things. It's just a lot harder to deliver it to your hands and stuff like that if you're out and about. So I recommend trying to mix it with aloe vera. That stuff's selling out quickly. So that's probably the thing on this list that's most likely to be gone next. So if you can find it, like again, it's in a lot of different places, hardware stores, gas stations, stuff where people might not hit right away. So pick up some of that if you don't have it already. The next item, this goes back to the idea of people not necessarily making the most logical decisions. Toilet paper sold out everywhere, but you can still get plenty of Kleenex. When I went to the store, I saw plenty of flushable wipes. There's other things you can use to wipe your butt besides just straight up toilet paper. If you need to, you can buy some paper towels. A little rougher, harder to flush, so I wouldn't necessarily do that. But Kleenex and flushable wipes, nothing wrong with that. And along those same lines, feminine hygiene products are still apparently easy to get as well if that's something that you need. So I definitely would at least stock up on a few weeks worth of any items you need in that category. And if you can't get the toilet paper and you don't already have it, then use the wipes or use the Kleenex. They work perfectly fine, especially in any sort of actual disaster scenario. The next item, what we've seen in everyone's carts when they go to Costco and wipe them out, the two things, toilet paper and water. Now, I can't ever knock on somebody for stocking up on water, because it's one of the most fundamental things you need to physically survive and cook and do all sorts of other things. But, you know, bottled water at big box stores is not the only option you have for storing water. What is still readily available pretty much everywhere is various types of water containers. A little bit more expensive, obviously, but you have things like your water bobs, aquapods. I put a link in the description to that as well. You can fill your entire bathtub with water. You could just fill up your bathtub with water too. You could fill up containers like this, jerry cans. You could fill up empty jugs, jars, and any sort of other containers, 2 liters. If you, instead of spending a bunch of money on water, if you really needed to, you could buy cheap-ass sodas, dump it out, and use the 2 liters. So there's plenty of other ways you can store tap water, which is perfectly fine to drink in an emergency, and not have to buy actual bottled water. I definitely recommend having a few weeks of water stored up at least a gallon a day per person. But that's not hard to do, especially if you have bigger containers like this. And they actually store a lot more space efficiently than cases of bottled water. This 5-gallon jug takes up less space than like a 24-pack of bottles, which is nowhere near 5 gallons. Just because of the shape of the bottles and everything, there's a lot of wasted space there. Next, things you can still get to help protect yourself in the event of a Plutoxin 7 outbreak is other sorts of PPE, like I mentioned, the gloves. You can still get plenty of glasses. These are amber colored, but you can just get regular goggles. You can get safety goggles. Those are readily available. If you really want to freak people out and get a seat all to yourself in the subway, you can get a full-on face shield. No one's coming anywhere near you if you're wearing this thing. All you have to do is just walk around, and if you see someone starting to look shady, just add the gloves and a mask and a hand sanitizer, a homemade hand sanitizer, and I guarantee you, you'll get that 6 feet of distance that people recommend you have to avoid contamination. The last item, which we also don't see too many people buying, we're starting to see a little bit of it in certain staples, but food. You know, there's no point in having 6 weeks of toilet paper, 6 months of toilet paper, and 3 days worth of food. You gotta have, I mean, like, we're talking about situations here you wouldn't want to leave your apartment or your house or whatever. That's why people are buying toilet paper and water. But you got to have food to eat. It's actually more important than toilet paper. You can come up with other ways to clean your butt, and you're not going to die. You can't really come up with other ways to sustain your body without putting, fuel in it, food. And so you need to get that. Rice is starting to go out in a lot of places because it's like the go-to thing when it's a great choice for that. But last time I was in the grocery store, there's plenty of pasta, there's plenty of beans, there's plenty of other canned meats, canned vegetables, there's plenty of other non-perishable foods. Even if you want to start getting into the junkish foods like Pop-Tarts and crap like that, not good for you. It doesn't store quite as long, but still will store for months, and it still will sustain you for several weeks. Certainly, you can get oatmeal, you can get you can even get some frozen foods, things like that. Like I mentioned in other videos, I'm not expecting this particular event or disruptions to cause widespread long-term power outages of any kind. So you could have some frozen pizzas, you could have some bacon and stuff or meat frozen in there. And if there was an event where it did lose power, then you could eat that for at least a day or two. So I definitely recommend having mostly non-perishable foods, but just have enough food in your apartment, because there's a lot of situations where you personally might just want or need to stay. You might be basically ordered to quarantine or want to self-quarantine. And so, it won't be a shit hit the fan scenario, but you need to stay in your house. So just having any kind of food there is helpful for that. Certainly non-perishable food is a better choice because it also covers you for those shit hit the fan scenarios where you don't have power or utilities that you can rely on. It can be eaten uncooked because it's already all cooked, and eaten cold even if necessary, and it lasts a lot longer, and it's usually cheaper too. So those are the 9 items that I recommend that you get if you haven't yet for the Plutoxin 7 event. Let me know what you guys think. Links to all the stuff that I mentioned, or at least some of each in those categories, will be in the description box below this video. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later. Check out worldofwasteland.com.